There is a version of financial ruin the Bible warns about that has nothing to do with a market crash, a lost job, or a sudden emergency. It moves slower than that, quieter than that. It hides inside habits so ordinary, so socially acceptable that most people practice them for years without ever suspecting they are the reason peace keeps slipping just out of reach. And the unsettling part is this: you could earn a solid income. You could work hard, pay your bills, appear completely responsible to everyone around you, and still, according to Scripture, be quietly practicing habits God explicitly warns His people to break. Because the Bible does not evaluate financial health the way a bank statement does. It looks past the numbers, straight into the patterns underneath them. And across Proverbs, the Gospels, and the letters of the New Testament, there are 10 specific money habits Scripture identifies again and again as dangerous, corrosive, and quietly destructive to the very peace and provision God actually intends for His people. Some of these are going to feel uncomfortably familiar. Stay with this until the end, because the same Scripture that names these habits also reveals exactly how to break every single one of them. Let's begin with the first habit, and it starts in a desert with bread falling from sky. Habit 1. Hoarding out of fear. Exodus chapter 16 tells the story of manna, bread appearing fresh each morning for the Israelites in the wilderness. God's instruction was simple: gather only what today requires. But some tried to save extra overnight, hoarding out of fear the supply might not return. Exodus 16:20 records exactly what happened. It bred worms and stank. The very provision meant to sustain them rotted the moment it was hoarded instead of trusted. This is not a condemnation of saving wisely, which Scripture elsewhere commands. This is a warning against hoarding rooted specifically in fear, the anxious grip that refuses to trust God with tomorrow, clutching today's resources so tightly that the clutching itself becomes corrosive. Which leads directly into the second habit, one modern culture has turned into an entire industry. Habit 2. Borrowing recklessly without counting the true cost. Proverbs 22:7 delivers this warning with startling bluntness. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Slave, Scripture's word, not a modern exaggeration. Every reckless loan, every impulsive line of credit opened without genuine consideration, hands a measure of your freedom to someone else, someone who now holds real power over your choices, your time, your future flexibility. Luke chapter 14, verse 28 adds the wisdom so often ignored in the excitement of a purchase. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost? Most financial slavery does not begin with a dramatic decision. It begins with skipping that single, quiet moment of honest calculation. The third habit moves from borrowing into an entirely different kind of danger, the desperate shortcut. Habit 3. Chasing get-rich-quick schemes. Proverbs 13:11 states this plainly: dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. Proverbs 28:20 sharpens the warning even further: one eager to get rich will not go unpunished. This is not a condemnation of ambition, it is a warning against impatience so intense it becomes vulnerability. The exact impatience that makes reasonable people hand their savings to schemes promising results Scripture has never once described as the normal, faithful path towards provision. The fourth habit is quieter, less dramatic, and yet Scripture treats it with surprising seriousness. Habit 4. Refusing to track where your money actually goes. Proverbs 27 verses 23 and 24 offer an image drawn from agricultural life. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever. Financial vagueness, never actually looking closely at spending, avoiding the bank statement out of quiet dread, is not a neutral habit in Scripture's eyes. It is treated as a failure of stewardship, the refusal to give careful attention to what has been entrusted to your care.
The fifth habit strikes directly at the integrity of every transaction you make, seen or unseen. Habit 5. Small dishonesty in financial dealings. Proverbs 11:1 delivers one of the strongest condemnations in the entire book. The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him. Detests. This is not about dramatic theft. It is about the subtle manipulations almost no one else would ever notice, exaggerating a price, hiding a flaw, rounding numbers in your own favor on a form no one is likely to double-check. Scripture treats these small, quiet dishonesties as something God notices every single time, regardless of how invisible they remain to everyone else. The sixth habit concerns the order in which money actually moves, and it is one of the most commonly reversed habits among believers. Giving last instead of first. Malachi 3:10 and Proverbs 3:9 both describe giving positioned at the very beginning of the financial flow, first fruits, not leftovers. When generosity becomes an afterthought, squeezed in only if anything remains after every other obligation has already claimed its share, Scripture's actual order has been quietly reversed. And that reversal, repeated month after month, year after year, shapes the entire trajectory of a household's financial life far more than most people realize. The seventh habit lives inside the heart, invisible to anyone else, and yet Scripture describes its damage in remarkably physical terms. Comparison-driven spending. Proverbs 14:30 says, "A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones." Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 4 adds an uncomfortable observation. "I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another."
How much spending, in a culture saturated with curated images of other people's lives, is actually driven not by genuine need or even genuine desire, but by quiet comparison, the need to match or exceed what someone else appears to have? Scripture calls this rot, not because the desire for nice things is inherently wrong, but because envy, as the engine behind spending, corrodes something far more valuable than it ever produces. The eighth habit addresses not money itself, but the posture of the heart holding it. Habit 8. Loving money more than trusting God. 1 Timothy 6:10 is one of the most misquoted verses in Scripture, and its precision matters enormously. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Not money itself, the love of it, the posture where money shifts from being a tool entrusted temporarily into something the heart actually worships, trusts, and organizes its entire sense of security around. The ninth habit concerns a kind of financial arrogance Scripture addresses with surprising directness. Habit 9, presuming on tomorrow as though it is guaranteed. James chapter 4, verses 13 through 15 confronts this habit head-on. "Now listen, you who say, 'Today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money.' Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. Instead, you ought to say, 'If it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that.'" This is not a condemnation of planning, which Scripture elsewhere commands through the picture of the diligent ant. It is a warning against planning with arrogant certainty, as though tomorrow's provision, tomorrow's health, tomorrow's opportunities are guaranteed rather than graciously given. Which brings us, finally, to the 10th habit, one that quietly poisons contentment regardless of how much or how little a person actually has. Habit 10. Complaining instead of practicing gratitude. Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 and 12 contain Paul's remarkable testimony. "I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty." Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5 adds the command directly. "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have."
Complaint practiced habitually, whether about a modest income, an unexpected expense, or simply the gap between where you are and where you want to be, corrodes contentment from the inside out, regardless of what the actual numbers on a bank statement say. This habit does not require poverty to exist. It exists just as easily inside comfortable circumstances, whenever gratitude is quietly replaced with an ongoing inventory of what still feels missing. So here is the truth underneath every habit on this list. None of these 10 patterns are named to produce shame. They're named to produce clarity, because a habit you cannot see is a habit you cannot break, and Scripture consistently treats these 10 patterns as reversible the moment they are honestly identified and deliberately addressed. Every single habit here, hoarding out of fear, reckless borrowing, chasing shortcuts, refusing to track your resources, small dishonesty, giving last instead of first, comparison-driven spending, loving money over trusting God, presuming on tomorrow, and complaining instead of practicing gratitude, traces back to the same root question Scripture keeps circling back to across both Testaments. Where does your trust actually rest? Because underneath every one of these 10 habits is a quiet, sometimes unconscious belief that provision depends entirely on your own grip, your own hustle, your own vigilance, rather than on the God who fed a wilderness generation one morning at a time, who filled a widow's jars until every empty vessel was gone, who has never once in thousands of years broken the law of seed time and harvest he established at creation itself. Breaking these habits does not happen instantly. It happens the same way Scripture describes almost every meaningful change, through small, repeated, deliberate choices made consistently over time. Loosen the grip of hoarding, slow down before every loan, choose patience over shortcuts, open the statement you have been avoiding, guard your integrity in the smallest transactions, move generosity back to the front of the line, turn your eyes away from comparison, examine what your heart actually trusts, hold tomorrow with open hands instead of arrogant certainty, and practice gratitude deliberately, even in seasons that still feel like they are missing something. None of these 10 habits are permanent. Every one of them can be broken the moment you are willing to see it clearly and choose deliberately to build something different in its place. So here's the question worth carrying with you long after this video ends. Of these 10 habits, which one has been quietly shaping your financial life without you ever fully naming it until now? Because Scripture has already shown you the way out. The only question left is whether you are ready to walk it.